There is no one I would ever spend the last day of this year with, except for like maybe my future wife or Ryan Reynolds or something like that. But I got Doc Williams in the house here. We got the brand doctors in here.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that I made top 10, top 5. I'm very happy about that.
Top
Thank you.
11, maybe.
That's somewhere, top 25. Let's just
Yeah.
be safe. Likewise, this is, again, we were just chatting before, and I was like, let's just record it because this is, we normally just talk about this stuff. So, all good things. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, before we get into the topic, just talking about consistency and accountability is part of the reason why we did this. And whether you're doing an accountability group, a mastermind, a podcast, it's just good to have somebody to talk to about these kind of things and progression and trying to be a better version of yourself. Actually, I haven't told you this yet, but I have a friend who I met at one of the conferences this year, and she wants to do like an accountability group. And her friend wanted to do like a mastermind, but I'm kind of leaning more towards the accountability thing because having someone to be like, hey, did you get your crap done? Like, it's helpful. And I think that having you and her, just having multiple people kind of keep me on my case, like get off your butt, that'll help a little bit.
Are we, is she going to be on the show? What's going on with this? I like it.
Maybe we could do that. I think really it's just a matter of just like me and her calling once a week and stuff like that.
I like it. I like it.
Main topic now?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
You're the one who brought it up, so I'll let you introduce it. I'll let you introduce it because you brought it up before the call.
All right. So the main topic is about, shocker, tools, but more importantly, what tools to use going into 2025. What are we planning to do? And this spawned because last week I was going to go down the Obsidian rabbit hole, and one of my friends like, just switch over. And I was just about to. I downloaded it, all of these things, and something happened, and I went in a totally different direction. And so that's what we're having a conversation with about Obsidian, what I'm doing, all of these things. And yeah, that's the topic of it. Let's get into it.
Notion and Obsidian have a learning curve. Obsidian has a slightly deeper learning curve, but I think that actually if you can learn what features Obsidian offers, you can turn some of them off or like replace them and using plugins. And I think that is actually a way to kind of hack the adoption process because there's a lot of extra features. For example, there's a ribbon on the side that has all the different buttons you might need for like opening up the graph view or something like that. However, in my opinion, it kind of clutters up the screen. It kind of makes it seem like there's too much going on. I managed to actually move those buttons to a different location and disable that plugin. I also don't use the audio feature, so I disabled that plugin. And so there's a lot of core features that you can just disable. And that's the cool thing about Obsidian is you get to change how you like it.
And the thing is, and thank you, maybe we'll just do like a small like beginner thing at the end of this. But this is what happened, okay? So as we were going through this last week, okay, maybe we should even back up. So last week, I decided to do something called like a build-a-thon. And before, I usually do a hackathon once a year with one of my friends that he'll come over to the house or whatever, and we'll just work on a project for 24 plus hours and just build all of these things. We've done it since like 2017. We've done it in some kind of iteration over and over again.
Next year I'm coming.
See, I'm telling you, I love challenges. I love pushing yourself. There's another thing I'm not sure if you've heard of. It's called NaNoWriMo. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, where it's like supposed to get you to like be consistent.
Yeah, so it's it's National Novel Writing Month in November. So you write a novel, 50,000 words, and so you're writing around 2,300 words a day just to get you into that rhythm. My wife,
I need to do that.
Yeah, it's awesome. My wife has done it like 4 or 5 times. I've done it like maybe 2 or 3, but it really gets you just used to just doing the first draft, right? And so last week I was talking about the hackathon. And then I was like, I'm going to do something like a build-a-thon. 7 projects in 7 days. And so I went and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this Obsidian thing, all these things. And what I discovered was I was feeling so overwhelmed. I was going through so many videos about it. And
yet you did not even reach out to me once about it.
And I was going to, and this is what I want to show. Number one, I did a detour because I read this book. Hold on, I'm going to share my screen for a moment.
Gonna make the editing worse now.
Yeah, I want you to do this. Keep making it work. So I read a book last week, Learn Like a Pro, and it really inspired me of just moving fast and focusing on what do you want to learn. And because of that, I was like, what do I want to do? I want a blog. I just want a blog, and I want something where I can just add things, and I can move a lot faster in Notion. And so I went with Build Fast. I just built out a blog that I could just move very, very quickly because you link it to a database in Notion. And I was like, I just need to do these things. I'll come back to Obsidian, not during my build-a-thon, but I was like, okay, let me just have a center and just leave all my stuff here so I can move faster.
You're giving me crap for doing the content blitz, but you're doing this like marathon.
No, there's a reason why I give you crap about this content blitz. That's totally different right here. We're going to talk about that. But that's what I was doing last week. We'll talk about Obsidian and all of the things I want to do, but I was like, no, I have to do these 7. I'll talk about what I was building, but that's what happened.
There are people who use Notion and Obsidian.
Are they psychopaths? Why would you?
Well, because Notion's good for obviously making this website aspect. There's actually at least a dozen different ways to make websites off of Obsidian. Obsidian.
Yeah.
So you actually could use Obsidian, just make a separate vault or something like that, and just have it public or whatever. But I actually thought about making a Polymath wiki using Obsidian, because like you can create this digital garden, whatever. I thought it was really cool. But let me kind of back up myself, because you backed up and explained your thoughts. Let me back up and explain why I'm in Obsidian in the first place. Because I had been in Notion for better half of a decade, like 6 years, I think, or something like that. And I was so frustrated by it. AWS kept going down, Notion kept going down on its own, and then my internet kept going down. So I constantly kept losing access to Notion. And over the last 3 years, it's gotten disastrously slow at some point. The lag is unbearable in some of those databases. And some of those databases only had like 1,000 items, which is not a whole lot. It's still a lot, but it's not enough to where it should be lagging like that. I've had databases with a lot more in there to have any issues with it. And so having this local system was a very big deal to me, because then I was like, hey, I'm limited by my computer, not by the internet or AWS. Also, too, just the complexity of Notion is kind of like Lego. And so you're constantly rebuilding it. And the same people who have that issue with Notion have also said they had that same issue with Obsidian. I am rebuilding my Obsidian a lot. I even just told you before this call, I restructured the folders a little bit. This is something that I had planned about a month ago, though, so it's not just like a last minute thing. But I'm just saying, like, it is something that people do a lot. They restructure their Notion or Obsidian a lot, that dashboard or whatever. But the thing is, tasks suck in Notion. Being able to connect it to other tools works, but sometimes that can be a little bit annoying, especially if you're trying to use this API and stuff like that. Whereas you can just have plugins in Obsidian that just work natively on your device. Like I use a Kanban plugin or something like that, and it just works natively here. It's super fast. Last year, I wanted to move off of Notion, and I had to painstakingly copy everything off of Notion and put it into Obsidian, because the export and import functions are not that great in any of these tools. I hated both. Actually, when I first started using Notion, I hated it. I deleted my account within like the first week. And then, half a year later, I tried it again and I fell in love with it. Obsidian, I felt overwhelmed by it. I didn't know what was going on. Hated it. Uninstalled it. It wasn't until I was like kind of forcing myself out of Notion that I actually joined back in with it. And so I realized that there's this kind of pattern with any tool that I've used. Capacities is the same way. Maybe you might want to try capacities too. That's kind of interesting. But I hate it the first time, love it the second time. So I always realize you just need to give it a second shot, and that's usually whenever I fell in love with it. But I came back to Obsidian because after trying other tools, I realized it was the best.
And thank you. That's a good overview. I like it. Let me ask you something. What's your main functionality? Why do you use Obsidian? Tell me more. Yeah, let's go down that route first.
Note-taking, first and foremost. I never found myself taking journaling notes in Notion, because I made a section for it, like bullet journaling or whatever, but there's no way of doing like daily notes, let alone weekly, quarterly, monthly, yearly, those kind of things. In Obsidian, there's a half a dozen different plugins that allow you to do periodic notes. I use one called Journals, and it allows me to create my own, basically, assortment versus some of these other ones that are pre-made for you. And so that way, if I were to click on my little calendar here, I can click on the day, I can click on the week, I can click on the month, I can click on the quarter or the year and make a note for that layer. And I showed you before this the call. My system, my PIOS, is based on yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily. And so this idea that I want to be able to have those layers have their own notes, that's something I can only really do in Obsidian. And so when I want to weekly plan ahead, I use my weekly note. When I want to do a daily journal, I use the daily note, yearly review and preview, yearly note, that kind of thing. So that's one of the biggest things. And so ironically, I went from Notion, which was much more output and content focused, to Obsidian, which is much more internalized. But I also able to save articles. I could never do it with the Notion web clipper. It never actually saved the article properly. It only ever saved the link. That was it. It's supposed to save the whole thing.
And tell me about the pricing structure.
Obsidian's free.
Why do some people pay pro, or you do different badges? Tell me about this.
There's only two things I could think of that you could, well, technically three. You could pay Obsidian to host a website for you if you wanted to do a publish, but there's so many options that you don't have to actually do that. And then there's Obsidian Sync, which I have paid for a month or two, but it didn't quite work for me with the size of my vault. I don't know if there was an issue with my sync. Like, I don't know if it's an issue on my side or an issue with Obsidian Sync, so I stopped paying for it. But I want to try it again because I do want to sync between devices. And so that's like $5 to $8 a month, depending on where you are, I think.
Tell me about that. So is it when I'm like on my phone and then I can sync, basically, so I can be walking around, it syncs automatically back to my Obsidian on my
and it tries to have like
and
conflict resolution too and whatnot. And the tool I used before Obsidian the second time was Acrium, and I was supposed to be like this, developer version of Obsidian that was like a lot more nuanced and simplified. But I almost lost my data twice in Acrium, and I also did not like how it operated when it came to the calendar view and daily notes, and so I moved off of it. But Acrium also had a sync option, like a cloud option, if you will. And so there was this, you could either have a local or a cloud, and I avoided the cloud because I didn't want to have constantly trying to be connected to the internet. Because there's three versions. You have local, you have hybrid, and you have cloud. And the hybrid's kind of usually the sync option. And there's actually plugins too in Obsidian where you can sync for free, like using Google Drive or Dropbox or something like that. But with the size of my vault, I don't trust those as much.
And then
if I only had a few hundred stuff, it'd probably be fine.
And then even when you're using local, you could still have it connected for people to see it if you're doing public pages and everything like that, even when you're just running it local? Or would it have to be cloud? If you're
paying for that particular feature, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
And then the other payment is like the support of the developers, which I actually thought about doing. I think it's called Catalyst for Obsidian, because there's a new core plugin where it's a web browser, so you can actually explore the web in Obsidian, which I thought was really neat. Except that decreases context switching. Like, I'm looking at Obsidian right now, and I'm looking at my, Google Chrome. Not having to switch between those would actually be helpful in a lot of cases for productivity.
Very interesting.
So it's a beta feature. You have to pay for the Catalyst to support the team, but in doing so, you get access to the beta.
And I
thought about doing that.
And the team, it seems very interesting. No, I think talking to them, I like this team a lot. I see a lot of potential. I am trying to determine if this is something long-term I would want to switch to. For example, this is something very stupid. I just cannot believe it worked. But my most profitable products have all been just Notion, like templates, just Notion, people downloading either docs or different things. They're $7 to $15 products. They're all in Notion. And I wonder, should I just be like, hey, it's already on Rails. Excuse me, just keep them there. Just start over and do something with Obsidian and either do something more internal, or I'm thinking about those things. That's what I'm thinking about.
I don't know if you remember me talking about this, but one of the things I want to do is create a PIOS template for people to copy. And I technically have one for Notion, but it's pretty outdated at this point. And I was also using Pinsite to host it, which I don't like. And so I wanted to remake my Notion template, make an Obsidian template, make an Airtable template if I can, and probably make a Capacities template if I could try to do that as well. And then people could just download based on which tool they prefer. Because my tool is my framework is pretty tool agnostic.
And so this is one other thing that I like the idea of the journaling. Maybe I want to see that in a second. But this is the other thing. You know me. I do physical journals, right? I have all of these things. Of course, if there's a fire, well, good luck. But
Why don't you get like a hybrid, like one of those notebooks that you could do physically that can also be scanned digitally, like the Rocket notebook or
I've
whatever?
tried it. This is so like petty. I'm left-handed. I smear the mess out of it. Like it is so like it's so like it's almost like
Right backwards, like Da Vinci.
yeah, yeah, maybe I should do that. So like I've tried those. Those are interesting. Tried them a couple of times. I just keep going back and forth. And again, like that's why I was looking at this book. By the way, it's a great book. It's really, really short.
Mhm.
But I really liked how it was
Like you
just
always tell me, send it.
yeah, I should. I should. I just like how it was focusing on what do you need to learn quickly, what is fulfilling to you. Just stop complaining and just do it. I thought it was a really good structured book, how to learn things, how to read things faster, how to organize faster.
And going off of that too, I want to interject because there's a lot of things that if you want to learn how to write a book, for example, having the right tool is a very helpful part of that process. So like Google Docs and Microsoft Office suck for writing a long form book. Technically, it's one of the only things that can actually handle something of that massive amount of text, right? Well, Obsidian is based on Markdown, which is one of the simplest file types when it comes to text, and that's why even though I have like 7,000 notes, it's only I think a handful of gigs big. And you want to know why it's big? Because I have a lot of books in there too that I downloaded from Gutenberg and stuff like that. And so there is a decent amount of books that are taking up space and images as well that got saved into the system. But overall, everything else that's all markdown based is pretty light.
I would just like to point out, I'm putting this, trying to send it to you on Twitter, and it's just like X is over capacity. I'm not even gonna get telling you how many errors I'm constantly getting from Twitter or X. It is obscene. I that team, yeah,
My notifications don't load. So I'll click on notifications because I have a new one, and it'll just show me the last one until I like refresh like 5 times, or I leave the page and come back. Like Twitter is broken. It is bad, and I hate the platform now. But I have to be on there because there's people like you or my uncle, or even just people I follow
yeah,
that are still only on there. But much rather be on Threads or Blue Sky
yeah. No code, and the thing is with no code and just
in the
moving,
indie hackers community and stuff like
yeah,
that.
everyone's on Twitter still. Like I don't care. Like it is terrible. It's a terrible experience, but everyone still hangs out there. They're not. If for from what I can tell, LinkedIn. I just don't enjoy LinkedIn for this crowd. They
Yeah,
don't get back to you. And email. Don't get me started. So it's just Twitter.
make your own community.
You just want me to do everything.
I do.
You just want me to do everything. Okay.
So ask me about Obsidian because I think that there's
So
more I can
this is
offer.
what I'm going to do. This is what we're going to do right now. You've got 15 minutes. We're going to go through the basics because I'm going to set it up because you've convinced me that I should at least give it a try.
Yeah.
I have a blank canvas of an account, and I would love to.
Share your screen.
What? Don't now you're making me. Hold on one second.
Doc has an attitude.
I do. I do. I do.
So I will say, like, it just takes a little bit of time to tweak and make to your liking, which I mean, obviously Notion's the same way, but I might suggest turning on some plugins, turning on a certain theme.
Look, there's
So,
nothing there, bro.
yep. Okay. So first, go to the bottom left. There's a little gear. Click the settings. Community plugins. Let's turn them on.
See. Okay.
And then turn on community plugins there. Okay, cool. The first thing I would download is journals.
So I browse right here.
Mm-hmm. If I go too fast, ask me questions. I'm happy to. It should be the second one right there. First one now. Yeah.
This one?
Yeah. And so what people often do is download what's called the calendar plugin. However, this replaces that need. There's also the daily note and periodic notes plugins that people use. I would also like to have you enable it. You have to often do that for a lot of things. We can mess with that more later, but now that you have it, that's good. Go ahead and click the X. And then go to appearance.
Appearance. There we go.
Down. Yeah. And then on the right side, it says themes. Click manage. and then type in border. So we're going to go with this one. It's pretty basic, but there's another plugin we could download later that allows you to have much more control over the design.
Okay.
It helps change the theme a little bit. And you can change the colors and all that jazz. But I just wanted you to have a better theme because it helps clean up the interface a little bit more and make it a little bit easier. And then other than that, on the top right, there's a little button.
Okay, should I leave settings?
If you want to change the color, you can. I don't know if it'll do much right now until we get that.
Let's see.
Just click the little circle. Yeah.
I'm going to make it...
Oh, interesting. It's not doing much right now. Okay, well, we'll forget that for now. Oh, see, there we go.
Okay.
It took a while to update on my side. Just make it a little bit darker so it's actually easier on the eyes. Go ahead and click out of that.
Yep.
Done. And then top right, just want to show you what it looks like. On the right to your left is a calendar. Click that. And so that is the plugin we just installed. And so if you were to click any one, I don't think we set it up fully just yet, but we can do that in a moment. If you click any of those numbers, then you can click on that daily note. So obviously we're on the 31st, but then also the weeks on the side, the month at the top.
Ooh.
And yeah, so we have to set it up still first, but I wanted to show you that real quick because it's super nice.
Interesting.
The normal calendar plugin only lets you do daily notes. And so this particular one lets you do any kind of one. I don't know. It doesn't even have quarterly yet, so that's weird.
Okay.
All right, so what's next? The next would be kind of folder structure. So how do you organize your stuff in Notion? Oh, yeah, isn't it completely a mess?
That's not true. That's not true. Yes, it is true.
Okay.
I have different workspaces for everything that I care about.
Do you want to use my system?
No.
Okay. If I have the weekly, the daily, the monthly, I thought that would be helpful.
Yeah, I do like that. Let's do it.
Okay. You're so full of it. I'm going to copy into the chat here so you can copy it. So I'm going to give you one by one, and the numbers are there because it helps with sorting. And so basically, I want you to make a new folder with this thing.
Where are you sending a chat in?
Well, remember, Twitter's broken, so I'm just going to do it here.
Thank you. Okay, and what am I doing here?
So basically, each one of these are going to be a different folder.
Oh, okay. So once I have it, I go over here, new folder.
Yes.
New folder. So I'm doing one yearly, reviews and planning.
And then, like I said, the numbers are there because it's folder structured, and so it's alphabetical just by nature. And so I use the numbers as a way to keep it in the right orientation. And you could probably change it too. If you don't want to use the 4 pillars and Ikigai alignment, you could just say alignment. So that way you're like aligning yourself every quarter. So that's the plan. Yearly allows you to review what happened this past year and say, like, what did you do right? What did you do wrong? And then planning for the next year. So you're like, okay, what do I want to do this quarter? So what phases, basically areas of interest, right?
Wait, we're going to have to go through this again after because I'm trying to multitask.
And then what goals you want to do. And then the weekly are just basically your systems and habits, such as your workout planner and stuff like that. And also making sure you're consistent with your writing. So that's where NaNoWriMo would also be if you had that kind of plugin or something like that. The daily is your content and networking. So I have a networking base that allows me to keep track of people that I've come in contact with. Because I think having your own personal CRM is powerful. The content planning is also something that, I do a lot of. And then the final one is just simply keeping archive and templates. So go into the archive and templates folder, make a new folder inside of there, and put templates.
So right here, I clicked on it.
Right click on it. There's nothing in it right now, so nothing's going to happen in there. So right click on the archive and templates and then add new folder.
New folder. Okay.
And then just put templates. And this way you can have a basic folder structure, because I don't like the para method. It's a little bit too archaic at this point, I feel like. And so this system is a little bit more beyond that, where you have a few different extra layers to it. And now that you have a templates folder, we need to install some more plugins.
Okay, let's go back. I go to settings. I go to...
actually, hold on. Go to core plugins real quick for me. Sorry. Let's turn off some stuff. So we have bookmarks, backlinks, command palette. So we're going to turn off daily notes because we have a different plugin that does that. And then scroll down a little bit. There's some things like backlinks and outgoing links that you're just going to have to learn what these do and decide whether or not you want to keep them.
Now, can I do publish?
That's the one that you have to pay for.
Okay, gotcha.
Same for sync, for example.
Okay, gotcha.
Flute.
Okay.
Here, it says templates right there. Go ahead and click the settings for that. And then we're going to go to the top one there, the template folder. And then, so the very bottom option is the right folder. And the reason why we're doing that, Doc, is so that way when you want to access your templates, it knows where to look. So, for example, let's exit out of this. We'll do the plugins in a second. Go into the templates folder on the left, right click, just add a note. And just type in like test. And then I want you to pick any other folder and make a new note in there.
Do that one more time. You want me to pick another folder? Like
yeah, just make another test note, just so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Okay. And then on the left side, there should be a button that says command. So on the very far left. I don't remember exactly which one it is. Oh,
Open
insert
command.
template. Insert template works also as well.
Should I say insert? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you only have one template, that's testing. And so you can do that. We didn't put anything in the template, so it's not going to say anything, but go ahead and click it. And that's just how you apply a template. So if we go back to archive and templates, I know I'm doing a lot here, but just to write anything so we can say, here's what it says. Okay. And then go back to the other note, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
I just want you to see what it looks like. And then go back to the insert template. And it's a little bit more like seamless, I guess, in Notion, but now you have that in there. So basically, I have a content template for any of my interviews and stuff like that. Yeah. And so that way I can just implement them easily. There's other things we can do that makes things a little bit easier. And so there's one plugin I want you to get. You might be getting kind of used to from Notion. So browse.
And I want, yep.
And it's going to be called /commander.
/commander.
You know.
Sorry.
Yeah.
If I can spell, that'd be wonderful.
That's all good. And then just go ahead and install it. And you'll notice it's updated a long time ago, but a lot of these plugins don't necessarily need as many updates. Click options real quick, just so we can see what's on there. Okay. I think we're all good. Scroll down just to make sure there's a template one. Okay.
This command is not available for this on this device.
I wonder if we need another plugin called Templater.
Let me do that. Easier templater.
This is one that a lot of people often talk about. So even though we have templates built into it, click enable.
Options.
All right, let's go.
No,
let's go back to the /commander one.
Ooh.
It's okay. I've done the same thing. Bottom left. Nope, go back.
Bottom left. Here to settings.
Settings. And then right there is /commander.
Let me look at it for a second. There we go. So community plugins are right there.
There's two ways to access it, but this is probably the easiest.
Okay.
I just want to double check that templates is enabled. Yeah, now it's enabled. So let's go ahead and exit out of it.
So it says from Templater. So you needed both. I see what's going on.
So even though there's a templates core plugin, I don't think it has nearly as many features as Templater.
Gotcha.
This is just something that I've regurgitated from other people, always downloading Templater.
Cool.
Same for like a couple other stuff. There's another plugin called Data View that a lot of plugins use. So we'll have to download that in a moment.
Gotcha.
So exit out of it. Let's go ahead and go back to testing new notes.
Yep. Testing new notes here.
Yeah. And then delete what you put there, just so we don't have a duplicate. Now /, and it brings up this little menu. And so just like in Notion, so you can actually get it a little bit more similar to what you're used to. You can do template. And then now you have your notes. So basically, I think it's pulling anything, but it's whatever you have in that templates folder.
Now it says also daily right there.
Yeah, I don't think we set up the templates folder in Templater.
Gotcha. Okay. No worries. This is, but this makes it a lot quicker.
I use that all the time for different things. So you can do call outs, you can do other stuff with it.
Interesting. Okay.
Let's go back into Templater and set that up real quick so you don't forget.
Okay. Let me just delete this, and then I delete this. Okay. Go back to Templater.
And then, so we don't have a folder set there, but if you click the top right, we can just do the bottom one, templates there. And now it should be fine.
Do I save or it's good?
It's already, saved.
Okay, cool.
So community plugins. We have a few more that I think you should get. Data view is one of the most common ones. And so things that you might want to use later on is going to use this. Just allowing you to do advanced queries. You don't need to really even do anything with it except for enable it.
Okay.
Do you like having like a...
It's this one.
Yeah, you can do that one too if you want to install it real quick.
Yes.
I usually just prefer using the canvas, but if you have a Scally Draw, you could mess with that later on.
I do, and I love it. Okay.
The next one I would probably say is called Read It Later, all one word. So this is the one that allows you to save articles. So click Options.
Uh-huh.
And then, let's see. Is there a particular... I'm looking for the setting that's a hotkey. We might have to do it separately. On the top left in the options, there's an hotkeys thing.
Here we go.
And then in the filter, type read.
Read.
Mm-hmm. And then, so there's create from clipboard.
Create from clipboard. Uh-huh. Click it.
And then I usually do Alt-A because that's not going to compete with anything else.
So I first do customize this command.
Yes.
And then press
Alt-A.
Alt. Where is my...
Whichever one's easiest for you, but that's the usual one I do. That way I don't forget it. It's unique.
Okay. I'm going to do Control A.
Well, yeah. Control A should be... That probably won't work because Control A usually selects everything in the note, right?
I do Command A. I'm on a Mac.
Oh, ew, gross.
I'm doing... You know what? I don't need this. I don't need this from you.
Okay, Command A is probably... Or Control A is probably fine then.
Look at this. Now you messed up my thing. Hold on one second. Let me do this.
You're the one that's on Mac.
There you go. I don't need this from you right now.
Ugh,
it's too early in the morning.
Disgusting.
Next.
Bro, you're an hour ahead of me. I don't want to hear it. And so that way, if you have an article like on PolyInnovator.space, right, or PolyTools.blog, you want to save that article, you can press Alt-A and it saves to your folder. But we need to make sure we have a designated folder for it. So here's what I do. If you click out of this, I have in my 4 pillars quarterly, so the second folder, I have my modular degree. Again, you might change that to what you want. So quarterly might be just alignments. You can get rid of the 4 pillars and Ikigai. I'm not going to push that onto you if you don't want it. But in that folder is where I keep my learning and my do-it-yourself degree and anything I'm saving to learn from later. So if you want to use quarterly as like your learning layer, you can do that too. Basically, we just need a folder.
Let me ask you, I will do it there. My question is, systems have it. I'm just looking at, would that make sense for me? When I think about quarterly, so you have all learning in quarterly folder there. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is one of those newer changes that I moved to. Because I used to have it in the daily. I had the input, which is the learning, and the output, which is like the journals and content in the daily layer. But I realized that I'm more learning in a bigger scale. Like I'm generally doing like sprints or doing things like having a macro view when it comes to my degree structure.
And
whereas
let me
content I'm doing daily.
And why would you not have it in archives? Mainly just because that's just too bogged down with all these other things.
Archive is usually like kind of a dumped folder.
Yeah. So I'm going to do new folder.
Mm-hmm.
And you're making it called just learning? What did you...
I called it the modular degree, but like learning probably fine for you too.
Listen, I see what's going on. I might rename it to module degree. I'll think about my life real quick. For supporting your methodology, I will change it. And since you're so helpful, how do I spell modular?
Let's do this.
Modular. I think I spelled it that way.
Yeah, there you go. That works too. Oh, so, and that way, anything you save goes into there. Within the modular degree folder, I have folders for articles, videos, GitHub pages, podcasts, books, any particular type of learning.
That's very interesting. So you're breaking it down into the type of content it is?
Mm-hmm. And then I usually sort it. So I have like a inbox folder where I save the Read It Later plugin to. And I also mess around with the RSS reader plugins too. So I had like I don't want to share my screen too much, but I guess I kind of have to.
What is wrong with sharing your screen? I'm sharing my screen all the time.
I got a lot of data though. I need you to stop sharing. So within my particular one, I have a lot more complexity to it that I don't think you need. Because like I have conversations, for example. So I moved it to the mind pillar. I figured the mind pillar, I'm working on my mind by learning. That's what I basically moved it to. And so I have my inbox, which allows me to save anything new to it. I just actually sorted everything last night, so that's why it's empty. but I had the RSS folder. And so basically, with the Read It Later plugin, it's going to save to one of these two folders, probably the RSS, and then any images get saved into here too. And so that way I have images in a certain spot. I don't have to worry about it. And so anytime there's an article with images, the images get saved there. That way this is automatic out of the way. When I'm ready, I sort it into different other folders here. So you can ignore the conversations, you can ignore the Kindle. Basically, I don't trust Amazon. And so I went onto Amazon and saved every one of the books that I want to read as its own thing. And so I have a whole bunch of books here that are just literally data view. That's all this is data view. But it allows me to now also do this. Where is it? I think it's in Kindle. Yeah, to read. So I can save. Oh crap! I need to fix this. Basically, it's a database view of all the books I want to read. I don't know why it's not working anymore. Maybe I got rid of the plugin. But I also have papers, like scientific papers that I found and stuff like that. So these are usually PDFs.
Ooh.
It's lagging because I'm sharing my screen, but
it's not bad. I don't see it being a horrible thing. What does it look like with? So how do you do the RSS feed? You're just putting in the URL and then it just pulls?
There's a couple different plugins for it. That's a whole nother topic to go down. I don't think I really like the RSS plugins, which is why I didn't keep them. But there was like an RSS reader on the side here that you could do. There was also one that kind of downloaded every article from the RSS, which I think was good. But it just starts to get a little bit too crowded if you're not careful.
I could see that. Yeah.
Then like GitHub pages, like there was some that I was like, I want to keep this around, and so it saved the GitHub page, especially since there's like instructions too.
Yeah.
And so I started getting a little bit carried away when it came to saving things. If you look at my article folder, it's probably going to lag quite a bit because I have so much in here.
Interesting.
I have like a couple thousand here, but the thing is, I need to sort it into probably more tags and stuff like that.
So if I can say in review, by the way, are you hard stop on making sure you don't go to overtime?
I have a meeting later today, but I'm fine for a while.
Look at this.
We're almost done, I think. There's a few different plugins. I think we're making a good enough progress on there.
I would say a couple things, but okay. I will continue to listen to you before I say anything because I'm learning.
Mm-hmm.
But
there's a bit of complexity to it, and I know that you might not want to adopt it right now because you have other complex things going on in your life.
See, and this is, to me, hold on. So, okay, I'll say this statement after you show me this. How do you do daily notes? Is it a prompt? What happens? You have this system now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like good health to you. But what, like say for instance, right? So I have this. Right, this is great. So you're literally going into, I guess I would have a daily folder in daily.
Every layer also has another folder in it with like, here's daily notes, quarterly notes. We didn't actually set up that plugin just yet, so we probably need to do that as well. But, and so basically I have a daily notes folder in the daily. I have a weekly notes folder in the weekly, and so forth. And so that way, when I click on one of those buttons on the right, it goes into that folder automatically.
Okay. So set up those folders first.
Yeah. And then I also want to just kind of quickly go over the plugins that I have.
Let's do it.
In case any of them are interested to you. So I'll share my screen for a moment. And then I could also maybe pull up my daily note.
I have thoughts on this.
Yeah, you'll share them in a moment.
I'm sharing them now. No,
kind of. Ignore the sticky headings one. It's not that important. I just wanted to have stuff at the top. Awesome Reader, I believe, is for PDFs. And so I just have that kind of there. Not a big deal. It's just one of those things that's kind of extra in my thing. But the next one here is Commander. And this one's interesting where you can start adding more buttons to different spots in the Obsidian Vault. So on this side of your screen, you have a ribbon here with all the buttons. I didn't like how it took up horizontal real estate. I want my main screen to be as big as possible. So that's why at the bottom too, I have a lot of things cut off because of the border theme that I had you download. But if you look right here, I had the buttons that you have on the left here at the top. And I was able to do that through this Commander plugin. This is something that's a little bit more complicated, so I don't need you learning it right now because it's not really important. But if you want to have more control over how your vault looks, that's a great way of doing things. The next thing is data view, which is important to have because a lot of plugins rely on it. Double shift is really cool. So when I'm in a particular note, let's say the daily notes, I don't have anything template anymore in here, but I'll show you what it does in a moment. But if I press double shift, it brings up this command palette, which allows me to do like templates, maybe insert templates. I guess templates is not working right now, but template daily note. Do I not have my folder? Oh, I changed the folder. Crap, that's why. When I changed this last night, it broke the template plugin.
How often are you changing stuff?
Not very often. And so here's the template that I've kind of come across. In the morning, at the start of the day, here's what I dreamt about if I want to do that, or here's what I'm planning for that day. Like basically, this is supposed to be like when I wake up. I'm not super consistent about it, I'll be honest. But when I am doing it, I try to write like, here's what I'm thinking. If a dream was very impactful to me, I'll write about that. Or here's what I'm stressed out about. I try to do a tasks list here as well. There are some plugins that'll take this task list and actually automatically move it to the next day if you do not complete it, which is really helpful. I don't generally do enough task management in here to make it worthwhile for me, but for you, it might be really helpful. Just keep track of certain tasks that get lost. And at the end of the day, kind of doing a review or saying this is what happened today, stuff like that. So that's kind of the format that I have here. It's pretty simple. Nothing too crazy. Everyone has a different approach to daily notes.
Let's see. Take a look. Could you go back to how you do your daily? Could you go back to how do you trigger dailies?
Yeah, so I do that /commander like I showed you before. I type in template, so you don't actually have to scroll down and move the mouse to it. You could do it all by keyboard, and then I have all my different templates here. One of the first ones is, or not first ones, halfway down is the daily note.
And so your daily, so you're in template. You put your templates as daily template, quarterly, blah blah blah. Then it goes that way.
I think there might be a way to do. So when we set this up, we have to create a template. I call it periodic because that's not, I don't think I spell periodic actually. Periodic. That's funny. But basically in here, you can have the different layers of notes. And I think there might be a way to do a template in here. Yeah. So actually, this is broken after I moved it. It should be fine now. If I were to delete this, let's say I delete the notes. I click it again. It should theoretically automatically add that template to it. Oh, wait, hold on. That's why. So I haven't changed this in a long time. That's why it's broken. But that's because I'm changing things pretty dramatically, not because I'm doing anything crazy.
Okay, no worries. Okay, no, I think this was great. No, in this front page,
now
wait
it
a minute.
automatically starts there. So like as soon as I click this, it'll add that template. So now it's set up properly. It was just broken whenever I was showing you.
And how did you just do that?
So in the journals plugin, you have to set up the different layers, and so I did that. And there's another plugin called Periodic Notes that does it kind of automatically, but the calendar sucks on it. And so I chose this calendar because you can click any of the different buttons. This is why it's better. I still had to go in here and make it, which we can do for you. But then within these different ones, you can actually choose a note that it will pull from.
Got it. Okay, cool. No, I can do that.
And then a few other plugins. One thing you might have noticed is the Home tab, for example, and that helps just, kind of like Momentum and Chrome having a search bar. Here's your top links. So it's the same ones as my bookmarks. And that way I can write my book and have my brand kit. So I have all my hex codes, affiliate links to quickly access. Excuse me, sorry. And then the recent files. And so that's just one of those things where it's kind of helpful to have. So the Home tab is just kind of useful. The Journals plugin, the Kanban plugin I've shown you before, it's one of the only project management plugins that actually works consistently. And one thing I really like about it is I can drag from here onto it, which other plugins won't let you do. Multi-properties is something you don't necessarily need to worry about. That is basically because I had a lot of old properties in the data view. So this stuff right here is the properties. That is like the special database things that you would normally see, right? I had a lot of old properties that needed to be gotten rid of and replaced. And so I got this plugin, multi-properties, to make it easier. Okay. Pomodoro, just this timer down here, in case you want to be a little bit more effective with your time management. Prozen is really cool. So let's say I want to focus purely on this note, right? I press my hotkey, and it allows me to block off everything else and just simply write. And so when I was doing my yearly note last night, this is how I did it. When I write my book, this is how I do it. Block off everything else and stay focused. And then I'm almost done. Kanban, multi-properties. Read it later. Shrink pin tabs. I have my book always open in case I need to start writing it. It takes up a lot of space when it's opened up, so I have the shrink pin tabs. Nothing too crazy. Slash Commander we talked about. Style settings and tasks are the two plugins we need to get you to get next. Just so things work properly.
I like it. I like it. All right.
So
I've got two things. First of all,
okay.
We'll start looking at these templates. Do people sell Obsidian? Like, say, for instance, what you just showed me, what plugins to get? Can you create a template that already has all of the plugins already added?
Basically, your vault is pre-made at this point, right? You have a vault. You haven't named it yet, but like you have a vault. That's what the whole system's built onto. You can make multiple vaults if you want to, but that's basically just your folder. And that's what Obsidian's built into. Any plugins get installed into that folder. And so if you were to copy that folder and put it onto Gumroad or whatever, then all the plugins should be automatically installed. So it actually asks you when you first install it, do you trust the author? So if I didn't trust you, I could say no, and it'll deactivate the plugins. If I did trust you, it would activate the plugins automatically, and then it should look exactly how you had it set up. So same thing goes for theme, right? I had you install that border theme because after I've gone through the themes folder entirely, so all 700 to 1,000 themes, whatever they have on there, like 3 times. And I came across border because it gives you the most creative control. You did not see that yet because you don't have the style settings plugin, which allows you to change all the styles the way you like. But you don't need to get too into the weeds with that yet. But you should probably you should install it, just not enable it. I feel like that way you don't forget about it.
All right, let's go. Let's go.
Share your screen. So, browse tasks. Just want you to have it so that we can work. Cardboard is another plugin, by the way, that's interesting. It's basically like the Kanban plugin, but a little bit more task focused. So you might play with that down the line. And so enable that one. The next one will be style settings. And that one, yeah.
Anything else?
That's the only ones I can think of right now.
Home. You had a home one.
Oh, home tab. Home tab. That works too. Yeah. I think you would like that. It's not maintained, but it does the job.
Okay.
And I might suggest, and this is excessive, I would go on to like the Obsidian website, click on their plugin directory, and just scroll through. There's about 1,600 plugins. It takes a while, but I ended up finding a lot of great plugins that way. Because remember, I was trying to find a way to plan my content out ahead of time. And I still am, right? I'm still working on that. But I'm also kind of unique in the complexity that I want to do with it. You might be able to get away with some simple plugins like folder database folder. And so it's just one of those things where DB folder, yeah. It's not the greatest, but it works in an interesting way. So basically it takes your folder and turns it into a database. It used to be called something else, I think, back in the day.
Okay. Now leave?
Yeah, now you're good. We do need to set up the journals plugin too, I guess, at this point. Let's see if I can remember how to do it. All right, so you need to do the big plus, and then just call it, what is it, calendar based? Click that, hold on.
Calendar based on daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. Interval is ridiculous.
I would say, yeah, daily, monthly, weekly.
I just do no,
because it's the name for the entire thing. So that's why I said periodic notes, because that's what the other plugin's called. Just say holistic. The ID doesn't matter either, because you're not going to be messing with the front number. Okay. Sorry.
Add.
Yes. And then basically, you want to click all those notes. The top one is kind of up to you. I guess that would kind of defeat the purpose of the home tab, though.
Open on startup. Open a note whenever you're... Yeah, I don't know. Should I do one at a time or just turn them all on and then change?
Turn them all on and we'll go change them, yeah.
Okay.
Because you're going to do all of them, I presume. So
yeah.
If you look on... Actually, just real quick, turn them all off and just look at the right side. Look at the little calendar. If you turn off...
Yeah.
Click on quarterly. And it brings up that Q4, for example. Other plugins that have that calendar don't have that. And so, like, if you don't turn on yearly notes, you can't click on the 2024 to do that yearly note, if that makes sense.
Got it.
That's why I like this plugin so much. It gives you so much control, and it gives you so much more options. Now we just go in there. Oh, we didn't actually make the folders. We probably need to go do that real quick.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Go exit out, make folders.
Exit out. Yeah, yeah, yeah. On the top left, it has it as a search, so we just need to click files. There you go. And then we're just gonna make in each of the folders a daily notes folder, weekly notes folder. So you're learning how to do it already. Look at that, nice and fast. I know a lot of people actually use keyboard shortcuts for a lot of things too. There's people who just do everything all through the keyboard. They don't even touch the mouse. I'm still a mouse person.
Yeah.
Quarterly notes. And one thing that I actually added, I put it in the archives. I didn't have a place for it. And this is something we can talk about next time, is decade notes.
Oh my God. No, we're not having this conversation right now.
Okay, so go back to the daily notes sorting. You're already there. So it's just on the right side here. There you go. And then it should be, where is it? Template? Folder. So just halfway down. We don't have any templates for it yet. And then since you don't have many folders, it should pop up pretty easily. On the very bottom, it says daily notes.
Right here. Bottom. Right now.
Yep. It says 5 daily. There you go.
See, that throws me off. I got to think about that. Okay. I'm thinking about, so it's 5 daily.
Like I said, the numbers are only for the sorting. Because if you didn't have the numbers there, it would be like alphabetical. So like daily would be first, and then the next one would be probably like what, monthly? No, archive would be first, then daily, then monthly, then quarterly, then weekly, then yearly, right?
Yeah. And
it would be off.
In this one, okay, so I'm going, this is
scroll all the way down.
Weekly.
There you go. And it should be right there for.
I see what it's
just showing you what folders you have. And since you don't have that many yet, it's pretty.
Before it gets out of control.
Yeah. Never actually had to set someone else's up. It should be the third from the bottom. And keep in mind, you only have to do this once. You do have to do this again when you make templates. So you have to go in and say, like, this is the template I want you to use. Right? But now, other than that, that's basically it. There's other things you can do on the sidebar. Like the very far left, that's your ribbon. And that's the one I got rid of because I didn't like it, but you might love it. Because you like doing the sidebar in Notion, for example, you can add your own buttons. So within that journals plugin, it actually gave you the option of adding a daily notes plugin, a weekly notes plugin, or button, I mean, a quarterly, whatever you want, basically. And that's kind of nice. Most of the daily notes plugins actually have a button on the side for the daily note. I generally didn't like that, but if you wanted to, you could.
So let's see, that one, add to... It would be.
You already have it there, so just click that, and then let's say this daily note, for example. On the bottom, it says show in ribbon.
Got it. I would just do daily. Yeah, ribbon icon. Ooh.
Yeah, you get a lot of control over what you want, and this is why I got you to download that style settings plugin too, because it allows you to change a lot of the style. So like you're using the same theme as I am, but if you look at mine, it's way different, right? Let me share my screen real quick. So if you look at my Obsidian, right, I chose a more reddish color, but for the most part, like this is separated. I have these different things here. Basically, all I needed to do was just move this around, right? And that's what I did. You have a lot of tabs up here. Some of these are like, here's all the tags. There's like outlinks. This is like the outline of the day. That's what this is. So if I were to click a bigger one, it'll have more on the outline. But I chose to have the calendar always. You can also do search. So there's different options what you can have here, but I want to see my bookmarks always. Your bookmarks are over here right now because you haven't moved it yet. But you could drag them over and move it to the middle. I have the Pomodoro plugin here, but I also have all the different properties, right? And so there's just different things you can do to sort it. I also changed the color to my sidebars to be darker than the middle, just to give it a little bit more distinction, right? I got rid of my ribbon down below. I hid away this properties and word count because I don't need to see this all the time. And see how much vertical space it gives me down here? Not much, but enough. You can even hide the tab bar if you want. I did, but I brought it back. I brought these buttons here instead to all these different little tweaks you can do to make it more interesting for yourself.
I like it. One thing, and this could be just something this is a very basic one, and then we'll wrap up. Let's see. I'm still going to talk about my thoughts. It will be very brief. But you see how it is like, okay, ribbon, show on ribbon right here. What am I missing that it's not automatically showing? Am I not saving something?
You might need to close close Obsidian and open it back up.
Okay, close the whole thing pretty much.
I think let's try it real quick. I'm curious. It should probably
Okay,
it should be popping up.
hold on one second. Close it.
It probably just needs to refresh the cache or something like that.
Yeah, hold on one second.
We did do a lot of changes in a short. Although it shouldn't have that issue with just a simple button. So it's curious.
Might just not be committing to it or something. Yeah, it's right here.
I don't know what icon you chose.
It's at the top. Yep.
Yeah. You should be able to drag and drop that too where you want it, I think.
Cool. Okay, so that is where it is. Then I'll change out what it looks like, all that stuff in the template, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Interesting.
Those properties are automatically made from the plugin too. So this is like the certain journal date and stuff like that. And if you were to go into your daily folder right now, daily notes, you can see it just has the date right there. And so it's nicely sorted by date.
Interesting. Okay.
And in Notion, you can't really quite do that with having like an advanced formula in a database. And that's only for daily notes. It doesn't give you actually like weekly notes and other stuff too. So it's just frustrating like how much effort it takes and you end up not using it. So even Capacities, which has a daily note feature built into it, that's actually kind of how it's centered around. Everything else is centered around the daily note. I ended up not doing daily notes because it was in the cloud. It was kind of ethereal, far away. And whereas with Obsidian, I'm much more likely to do it because it's right there. And I always have it open.
Interesting.
It's local on my computer. It's always open. It doesn't take that much processing power, that kind of thing.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
Questions, comments, concerns?
I will say this. First of all, you did a great job. I think that was really good. Two things so on any website, have you done a breakdown like this, how to start from scratch?
No, and that's the thing that I wanted. So remember how I told you about Content Blitz? There's a lot of SEO-based posts I want to make. At least a dozen of them are about Obsidian.
Well, first of all, you just made one based on this podcast, just repurpose this section for sure.
Yeah.
Number two, are you selling a template like this from the beginning based on yours?
Something I want to make. So like I need to start my funnel for the PIOS.
How much would I have to pay you for you to create what you just created for me? I think that should be an easy, right off the bat, template that you need to do.
And again, I'm going to make the template for Notion, Obsidian, and Airtable and whatnot, so you can choose. Here's the deal. The template is free. The course is not free.
I hear what you're saying, but I would like to also point out the time and effort that I just put in. I can guarantee you there's a portion of the population that just saw that and was like, great, thank you for teaching me that. I don't have the bandwidth or time right now. I will pay $5 for that to just be set up instantly. Because the time, what is my time worth?
Okay.
That's just something that I'm thinking about. I'm just saying, because that was a great thing that you just set up. And I would have, in my head, I was like, if I could pay less than $10 for this to be set up exactly, I would do it in a heartbeat right now. Take my money. So those are kind of those unlocking moments that I love how you just went through this whole process. Those are the unlocks that for your brand easily, I could
charge $5 to $10 for a template.
Yeah.
And then
and $15 for all of them, Notion, but I would do $7 for that.
Yeah, $7 is good. I also think I have a membership on my website. I can make it free for people who pay for that membership or something like that.
Just a thought. The other thing is, I love how you told me about everything about what plugin. If I'm doing a video or if I was watching a video back on it, there was two things. For repetition, that makes sense for adding one plugin at a time to see how it works. For the concise nature of when you're in plugins.
We should have installed all the plugins all at once. Yeah.
That's it. Other than that, I loved it. I think you did a great job. I was not going to do anything with Obsidian. And I was going to burn it down. But you have just changed my life. I might give it a go.
Before we wrap up, I should tell you what my original reasoning for using Obsidian last year was. I told you before, but you probably forgot.
Yeah, definitely.
I wanted to create my own Jarvis.
That's right. Right.
So let me explain first off, why I haven't done that, but also too, how I kind of envisioned it. So back then, there wasn't really a whole lot of local AI models. There was AutoGPT, and that was about it. So what I intended to do was use Obsidian as a structure to organize all my notes and create local files of each of my notes, like these markdown files, which are easy to scan, and then use AutoGPT to scan through them and basically be trained on my own data. Because I don't trust using like OpenAI sending all my data. Because I have a lot of personal stuff in here too, and that's one reason why I haven't done it yet either. Because like out of the 7,000 notes, at least 1,000 of them are probably like too personal for me to send out to the cloud and to a system like that. I also thought about like how do I want to go about it, blah blah blah. I probably want to just do my content and then all the articles I've saved. Those are two specific folders. I would need to train it on that. There's also like 12 to 18 AI plugins that you could dig into later on, Doc, that are just like kind of insane. Some of them do some really cool stuff that only Obsidian can do, like linking notes together or tagging them in unique ways that it just uses AI for. So you can actually probably get a third of the way there to a Jarvis by just using those plugins. But I also wanted to make like a more advanced thing, and I got kind of sidetracked on that. But that was the motivation.
I love it. I think this is really good. I learned a lot here today. I am going to try out some different plugins. I'm going to probably, because we're doing like part of the build-a-thon tonight and into tomorrow. So I'm going to try it out and look at some things. This has been extremely helpful. And to me, coming from Notion, it's almost like 5 years of crap that I'm just
Yeah.
pretty much redoing. But I think it also is really impactful to just start and you learn what, how you like to categorize what's going on from there. Because Notion, someone just learn and experiment. This was 5 years ago. There wasn't a lot of content like it is now. And so
Yeah.
there was a lot of experimenting in a lot of the pages. So now that I understand what I like, what I don't like, what I want to use, this almost feels like takes the weight off my shoulder to do something from scratch. So thank you very
Well,
much.
which is why the folder structure I gave you, the yearly, quarterly, the thing I created, I made this system, the 4 pillars, Nikigai, all of it, to be the like quintessential polymathic kind of lifestyle structure. And since you're quite polymathic yourself, and we've talked about that because you're on my polycast and everything too, no less. It's one of those things where having a system to keep track of all our different interests, right? And so that's the thing that I wanted to really kind of build off of. And then we didn't even get into the subfolders really at all, like phases, for example. But
No, let me live for a moment.
yes, enjoy. All right, cheers.